One of the things that is central at Imago Theatre is our obsession with accessibility. And so we've been investigating different ways of making theater accessible to a variety of communities in a variety of different ways.
In November 2021, we entered a week-long workshop with our team, and we were looking to come together and create a story that we could use as the basis of the exploration to include audiences who were sighted as well as blind, and audiences who were hearing as well as deaf. We had our consultants with us as well. Tina and Clank were there, and Jen was there, and so the conversations around the table were really, really rich. And then we went into exercises as well. Most of the team were not actors. I think that was very interesting for all of us to kind of be in positions that, you know, we're not usually in. And then Mireille, who wrote the text, pulled from those exercises and created the story.
What stands out to me is how hard it is to grasp someone else's experience.
Can we create it in a way that is normal to other types of demographics? So deaf theater has always been around. Deaf actors exist, they've always performed. American Sign Language has always been on stage. How can we collaborate with hearing and deaf artists to work together in a piece that is accessible to both deaf and hearing audiences, for example?
Ultimately, the question is, what is the theatrical experience? And how can we nourish it and change it to make it accessible as well for as many people as possible?
To create something that is interesting for them and that they get the same value of the things that a person that can see or can hear will get.
There might be different ways of expressing light as well. Not just lighting a scene, but who am I lighting for? What are the intentions of the light? And how can I reach more people with light?
So for me, it's about, because I'm looking at it from a sound perspective and oral perspective, when I create something, how I can keep certain things in mind, how I can use what I do in this context.
I think where I'm getting to, and I think where the group is getting to, is that there isn't one form that is perfect for everyone, but it's looking at the tools that we have and how we can use those tools in different ways.
Who gets to tell the story, or how does the story get told, or can they just be part of the cast of actors, and therefore by their being actors with different abilities on stage, that a story then gets transformed.
I feel like I'd have to spend at least a couple of weeks with someone who is blind and ask them a lot of questions to even create like a secondary character.
Can one story really truly reflect a varied array of experience? Right now, I feel like I'm saying, no, it can't. That story needs to shift and adapt itself depending on who we're reaching or who we're including. I guess that's the dream, is that we could all be in one room and hear the story, and somehow we're all involved in it or touched by it.
Because accessibility is not just an interpreter on a stage. It's not just description on a stage. It's thinking about human beings, the different types of human beings that exist, that consume art, that express art, and what that looks like and what that can be, and how it really opens up the discussion and the types of art that we consume.
We don't take the time to investigate why we make the work we make and how we make it.
I don't think there's any end to how broad and wonderful accessibility can be. It's just going to be an ongoing conversation, and I think the commitment to an ongoing conversation is what is really important.
It's about the experimentation, it's about the process, it's about taking the time, it's about thinking, it's about talking, it's about sharing, it's about creating and then recreating and then creating again, and really thinking of it as small steps that lead to somewhere, but we don't know where that somewhere is yet.
It's a broad sort of process where people are bringing so many different personal elements and experiences to the process. And I found that very fascinating, and I felt useful in giving my perspective. So that was comforting to me, because I didn't know that I would be able to do that, and it turned out that I was.
when folks were saying it's almost impossible to serve every individual's need as far as, say, accessibility goes, or someone even mentioned financial accessibility, who can afford to come to the theater. And but to wrestle with the ideas, hope that some of these ideas will be wrestled into future performances, and that I might have a chance to come and check it out.
Why would certain people want to come see a story that also has nothing to really do with them? So the other factor was thinking about blind and deaf actors within the story. And so Mireille took that and then created characters that accompanied the sighted character and accompanied the hearing character, and so creating this equitable story in a way.
This is a new piece, a new creation. So there's a lot more liberty in creating a script that is already more accessible to more people from the start. And it's way easier to incorporate auditory description, dialogue before the production starts, as opposed to a prescriptive type of accessibility that happens after.
The script came up to a certain evolution. Then Christina and I took the script and realized that the best way to do it was to split it in two. The first half of the play, which ran for about 11 minutes, would be done specifically with the blind character and for blind audiences, and the second half with the deaf character and the deaf audiences. And then we went into production.
One thing we really discovered was the importance of, if we're going to do audio description while a play is happening, it's really kind of more fun and interesting if that person who's doing audio description is live.
The excellent work of Alex, who portrayed the documentarian, she describes a great deal of what's going on, so someone, blind or visually impaired person in the audience, might be able to have a pretty strong sense of what we're doing. Of course, I don't know at any point, did she say how beautiful we are?
Not enough, in my opinion.
No. That's missing, but now at least we're having the chance to tell you here.
That's right. We're gorgeous.
I guess I was surprised by, all the elements that have to be considered, and just the different ways how accessibility is not just on camera, it's also allowing for other team members that have different needs, how they are integrated into the group, how accommodating we are, while giving them their own autonomy.
One thing that we did very early on in the process, which I really appreciated, was that people would announce themselves. So someone who was speaking would say their name and then say their part. And that's good for blind and visually impaired folk, but that's good for everybody else too, because then you learn everybody's name.
Everybody had to start thinking like Clank, our blind actor. So our brains just went right into that awareness, which was incredible, challenging, but rich, very rich in how it affects rhythm, how it affects everything. Same thing happened on the deaf and hearing impaired side, like same thing happened. So it was a constant process of learning and adapting, but again, everybody was prepared for that process.
When Jennifer came to me and she goes like, it's too much pattern on her shirt and we can read her signs. I'm like, because when you go for theater, the patterns are important to complement the skin tones, but then the learning was like, if the importance of the signs that they're producing, the rest of the body become just like the white canvas, and it should be something that resolve the hands.
It's nighttime, we want to have shadows, we have light coming through a window, but we still need to see the signing, right? And so it's like, okay, so that creates limitations or challenges in the way that you can light the actors as well, but still keeping it super visual at the same time. So it's like creating that night scene and finding out, it's like, oh, okay, so if I light this, or like the window, it's creating like a bar in her face, it's not gonna work. How do we, cut the shadows out and still, have that kind of fun, interesting lighting as well?
When at the beginning in the quarry, when the guard comes in, everyone reacts. The children react, and they are stiff. And so, how to convey that tension in a way with sound, so that is communicated, that kind of the feeling of the room.
Framing for seeing the language, but I like this frame as well, and it's serving the entire project aesthetically.
Yeah, they're about to do that. Oh, great.
It's so important for the team to come together with consultants, with actors, with everyone, and have those workshops and have that initial time to talk through everything, to just understand things before you enter production, or to get a step up and to kind of learn to be maybe less precious about some things, but also open your consciousness. Like for me, the experience was very much about like an openness of consciousness.
We really have kind of a rigid development system that we follow for production, and with this process, the really intricacies of how our day was scheduled was quite fluid, because we weren't sure exactly what the needs were going to be at exactly what time. And so it's just about remaining open to maybe not doing things as you normally do them.
The dynamics are different, even if you have one actor, one blind actor, or 3 deaf actors or whatever. The dynamic's going to be different for sure. So keep yourself completely open and learn from them. I'm a great believer in let them take the lead, whenever possible.
Keep your mind and your heart open, and just look around and slow down, right? Which I think is a good advice. But because we do take things for granted.
It's really not that hard to adapt to a different style of communication if everyone starts in that same place. Like if you all just work together and do that quick mind shift, it was pretty, I don't want to say effortless, but there's a conscious effort that then becomes the new norm. So it might be that learning process at the beginning that feels a bit bumpy and awkward. So maybe it's an insecurity, or it just feels weird to have those bumps. But then after that, it does become the new norm.
We rarely use all of our gifts really, in the making of art. And now I think I can use more of myself, and therefore more of what is in the room with me to make a theater project even more gratifying, fuller, deeper, richer. And I credit the fact that we gave ourselves the duty of examining accessibility, whether it was by making our work accessible through the digital platform, but accessible to a variety of experiences, both on stage and off stage.
Hakeem in the presentation doesn't have a cane. He's a little bit like Stevie Wonder. You know, Stevie Wonder just walks around with a supermodel, and I had mine here.